TiE Silicon Valley's ScaleUp Summit. I'm so excited everybody can join here. My name is Anita Manwani. I'm a Chief Operating Officer of TiE Silicon Valley. You have three elements. Number one, Anita Manwani, our president, will be talking in just a minute, giving an overview of what we are, who we are, and a little bit more depth into some of our programs. Right after that, you will go into our go-to-market accelerator overview and then dive right into a positioning workshop. Most of your founders here, right? We wanted to make sure your time is very well utilized. So this is a hands-on workshop. The much deeper version of that, we take it separately in a cohort-based program, but we are super excited what you can do with this workshop. Right after that, you will meet VCs. Here's how it will work. Whoever has yellow and orange tag, you will be meeting VCs in 3 groups. We will pair you up, 6 to 7 people meeting at each of these booths that you see in the back, which says SVB, right? We will take you there. There will be 2 VCs standing at each of these sections. After 20 minutes, you'll go to the next one. The goal there is for you to come prepared, like we sent you an email. Your elevator pitch, what are you looking for, your ask, your current growth, run rate, etc. And then go to the next 2 VCs and so on, so that later on you know who you have more interest talking to and vice versa. And then at the end, we have insights from VCs. 2 VCs will be talking about, one, design sprint, what is the role and importance of design sprint, and second, just the importance of building teams. Yeah, that's about it that we have, and we'll talk more about it. Let me introduce Anita Manwani. Anita is our president of TiE Silicon Valley, serial entrepreneur, serial corporate successful executive, led HP and Agilent's global organizations, all on, went to become the CEO of the India entity and chairperson. She's also the chair of TiE Silicon Valley, of our board. Without any further ado, Anita, please.
Am I live? I'm live, I'm breathing, but is the mic live?
Yes, now.
Okay, all right. Well, thank you all for coming, and before I forget, I want to give a big shout out to Andy Tsao, who is the Managing Director of Silicon Valley Bank, and he has made this location possible. How wonderful it is for us to be able to launch TiE Silicon Valley's entrepreneurial programs right here in the heart of the city. Some of the faces here today are quite familiar. I see you in our Palo Alto office. But it's so delightful to see so many new faces and expect to see us here more often. And I also want to thank you all for making it on a Monday, especially those VCs. I trust you had your partner meetings at 9 or 10, which I know is you're standing at on a Monday morning. So without much, let me give you a little broad overview, and then after that I will be asking Andy to say a few words. Today's program, while we get these slides, today's program is brought to you by the TiE Silicon Valley team. You've been all talking to Sheena. Sheena, where are you? Here. Thank you. And we also have, you've already heard from Ajay, and then Isha, so Sheena and Isha, the ones, raise your hands. Please ask them some good questions besides where the restrooms are. So with that, I'll start off with the one slide. We've been around for 32 years, and it's been all about fostering entrepreneurship. But in today's world, fostering entrepreneurship in Silicon Valley is actually quite challenging. It's challenging to be an organization that provides this value, but it's even more challenging for all of you because your choices are so many, right? So I always go back to my friends, to my own entrepreneurship days, that it's really all about product market fit. When somebody tells me, I'm doing this, and I say, what is your goal? It's to sell my company in 3 years. And I immediately have a red flag, because it's not about selling the company, it is not about the exit, it is really about delivering value to your customers. And I just heard an entrepreneur who's a unicorn and who said to me, he said, you know what, once you get product market fit, it means you are delivering true customer value. And if you're solving a real problem for the customer, you will be rich. So keep that as your North Star. And the second thing is we all have to be maniacal about revenue generation. I am too, even in this not-for-profit role, right? And as startups and founders and VCs, everyone has to be maniacal about getting return on investment and generating revenue. So if we tie this all together, one of the things that we are so grateful for is Anurag Wadehra, who is leading this GTM course and cohort. So we do this all the time. We've been doing it more on an ad hoc basis as part of our Silicon Valley Immersion Program, which is our global gateway program. It includes universities, entrepreneurship centers from universities, funded startups from all over the world. And of course, we've now got an increased interest from Asia Pac, including India. Our last cohort was 76 founders in September. They went through a 4-day customized program, meeting CROs, CMOs, talking to them, talking to VCs, and most importantly, hearing from successful serial entrepreneurs and corporate executives who will be future POCs for them. So that's the kind of thing that we do. Everything is pretty curated. If you're here, you are curated. You are targeted. You're in our horizon. You can't go away anywhere now. You will keep receiving things from us. Some of our select programs, I want to point out GTM Accelerator and Funding Fridays, because it ties back to PMF and revenue growth. The GTM Accelerator, you can go through this exercise later, so I won't steal Anurag's thunder. But Funding Fridays is a program that happens twice a month, and VCs actually come to the not San Francisco. We hope this will be our San Francisco office, Andy, but they come to our Palo Alto office on California Avenue, and they have 2 hours. All the founders who want to come on that particular day get curated and scheduled. You get a 25-minute one-on-one with the VC. This is huge. And for all of you who know, it typically takes 40 different kind of touches to get to that meeting. And our success rate with these VCs is 78%, and what that means is that 78% of the folks who are attending a Funding Friday session are actually being called for a second follow-up meeting at the VC's office with other partners. So your chances are really increasing. So TiE has been doing this for 33 years by educating people, making sure there are relevant discussions about trending technologies. Of course, helping with funding, we have the TiE Silicon Valley Angels, but we have a broader network of VCs through the Funding Fridays program. There's a lot of mentoring. Our charter members are all either investors, they're big corporate executives, or they are serial entrepreneurs, successful entrepreneurs themselves. Some of them are academics and bankers, and we do lots of engagements that are around just networking, meeting people, and building relationships. We do have office space at our offices, so we are incubating and talk to your favorite VCs. Some of them are here, and they do rent, and so that's whole thing is to make everything easy for the entrepreneur. Finally, from 33 years ago, we've now grown to 60 chapters, 14 countries. So it's a large network. I feel very proud of the one metric, and many of you, I see first generation or second generation immigrants. It's so important to give back to the country that has given us so much opportunity. And as I step back, what TiE has done is actually touched 25,000 entrepreneurs over the last 30 odd years and created 2 million jobs in the United States. And if you want another great metric, has touched $1 trillion of wealth. So these are great numbers, and one that we should all feel proud of, all of you, because you are a big part of this ecosystem, and for all of us who are making this flourish across Silicon Valley. And no matter what we say, there's a Silicon Valley in India and there's a Silicon Valley on the East Coast. But somebody, an entrepreneur, asked me the other day, should I move to the Bay Area? And I said, you don't have to, but there's only one place where you will breathe the air of Silicon Valley, and there is magic. And this magic is what you all are creating. So with that, let me just say one more thing. TiECon is our flagship conference. We've had it for 32 years. It's focused on trending technologies, Pitch 15, Mentor Connect, VC Connect. So there's a lot of action. 3 days. Last year, the first day was LLM workshops that were being offered by Google, Meta, as well as NVIDIA. Jensen Huang was one of our keynote speakers. The who's who on cybersecurity was there, from Nikesh Arora to Z Scaler. We also had a Google exec teaching prompt engineering. I really needed the class. Every time I kind of prompt something, my kids get a better response than I do, so I really learned a lot from that. But let's go to the next one. This year, TiECon is going to be, mark your calendars, April 30th to May 2nd. We are already in the process of confirming those grand keynotes. The focus this year will be AI-verse, which means beyond ChatGPT and the standard, support stuff, but really focusing on how enterprises are actually implementing AI, and Anurag will talk about one of his workshops in that space. But through the year, we have summits, we have AI series, we've had a cybersecurity summit, we have a lot of focus on semiconductors, so those who are in that space, the renaissance of semiconductor has become very important in this world of AI. So there's a lot, there's something for everyone. I'm not going to go through each one of those, but 67 engagement, I believe today is our 68th engagement from January 1. So if you ever need a little break from your startup, you know where to come. Go to the calendar, you will find something you can get some value out of. Is that it? Okay, so who's making this possible besides the fantastic team that you just met here and folks like Anurag? There you see Andy, you're seeing him in person. We also have a fairly diverse board. A lot of people say, oh my God, first woman president of TiE, and I go, oh my God, the men finally woke up. But I had to say that just to get a few laughs, and nobody laughed except Andy, so I won't repeat that joke again. As you can see, it's a pretty diverse board, and they all come with varied experiences, both from corporate as well as the venture world and so on. So, happy to be here, and these are the kind of things, just a little photo shoot on all the various programs. And I won't say much about Go-to-Market Accelerator because we have the master himself. But before I ask Anurag, Andy, would you say a few words, please? Thank you.
Thank you, Anita. Good afternoon, everybody. Again, Andy Tsao, a long-time Silicon Valley banker. Thank you, Chad.
Let me start by welcoming all of you to the SVB Experience Center. We've had this space for a year and a half now, or getting close to 2 years at this point. And when the bank uses it quite a bit, but when we're not using it, we'd love to have our friends and partners here, like, of course, TiE, Silicon Valley. So welcome. I've been now on the board of TiE for the last 4 years. So starting my 5th year coming up, and it's been amazing working with Anita during her time as president. We have a lot more work to do in the coming year and years to come. I'd like to recognize Anita and very much encouraged by the direction that, thank you, my badge, sort of back to the future, if you will, where TiE is there's such a strong cadence of events, embracing entrepreneurship, fostering entrepreneurship, as we've done for many, many years. And that's a great synergy with Silicon Valley Bank, of course. bank's been around since 1983, so not too dissimilar in age. I think we were partners with TiE Silicon Valley since its inception, so it's been a long-standing relationship for decades, and I'm looking forward to the many decades to come. As far as Silicon Valley Bank goes, I think hopefully you have seen SVB being very active back in market. I'm very happy to say that SVB is recovered, very strong and active in the innovation economy again after some of the events of last year. We're 20 months on from that. We're now a division of First Citizens Bank in North Carolina, but they've wisely embraced us and allowed us to continue operating as Silicon Valley Bank, as our own brand with our own executive management. So from your perspective, I mean, from our clients and partners, you really should see no difference from the SVB of old. So with that being said, I want to stand between you and the program. Welcome, everybody. Enjoy the afternoon.
Thank you.
I'm Anurag Wadehra, and about 25 years ago to the date almost, I moved from Chicago to Bay Area. And the reason was very simple. I had been for a year or so in Chicago trying to get my first startup off the ground. And every person I talked to, they said, why are you here? Why don't you go to Silicon Valley where the action is? And my wife and I took a one-way ticket here, and last 25 years have been blessed for me because I had a chance to get the startup I wanted, funded, scaled, so forth. And over the last 25 years, I had the privilege of being part of 6 startups as the founder or operator, all in B2B, and then also had opportunity to work at some large companies to have scale experiences, including Google a few years ago, where I was the GTM leader for their Google Cloud industry solutions across 6 verticals. And then about a few years ago, I decided that I'll hang my boots on the operating side and look around and see what I want to do. And I realized that I've been so lucky while I've been heads down in the operating roles that from the very first day I landed over here, I had the opportunity of finding mentors who helped me through this process at every time. And in fact, I remember sitting in the seat that many of the founders are sitting in, that I attended pitch fests as a first-time founder and testing out my pitches at TiE, right? But along the way, I became part of the community, never really realizing what else I could do to give back to the community. So it was a delight when a few months ago, Anita reached out and said, hey, what's up? Why you want to partner and do something together? And so what I'm doing now as part of charter member for TiE is to create a program which effectively is my way and our way of paying forward to the entire community. And the program is about GTM. That's my work, that's the experience, that's the scars on the back I have. And if I can partner with many of the entrepreneurs from whom I've learned and start creating some programs that I can start helping other folks in the journey. That's the intention, that's my background. So today, what I'm going to do is share with you about the GTM program, the GTM Accelerator, that we are working together with TiE. There are a few parts to it, and it'll take me about 10-15 minutes to introduce the programs, but more importantly, very quickly, move from theory to practice, and particularly for the founders over here, hopefully we'll get some experience. Okay, so there are a little bit more in my new role as a GTM coach accelerator. There are a few things I do, and you can find them online, and I'll give you a lot more detail that what I'm working on with TiE. On the left, I have a Growth Matters newsletter where I write and talk about it. I have several self-guided videos and tools which are available to founders, and I also teach online cohort-based courses on go-to-market as well as Bootcamp for product market fit. And these are 8-week courses I'll talk a little bit more about. And then, particularly in partnership with TiE, we are doing live hybrid programs where I'm meeting with founders at TiE office. I have an office hour, and We are doing a lot more on to start giving back more in a live interaction rather than simply online. So it's a hybrid program that we're putting together. So these are all the different modalities and content. But let me frame what GTM Accelerator is and the specific 3 programs we have in place. Not surprisingly, this is pretty straightforward. There are 3 stages to a tech company growth. I'm not saying anything profound that many of you have not heard before. Early stage is exploration, where all founders are still figuring out what I call product market fit. You're figuring out the value thesis. What exactly are you doing and how is it valuable, right? And that to me can be 0 to 5 million, 0 to 1 million, 0 to 10 million. We can't get into semantic debates, but it's early stages where you're not sure yet whether you have a business and whether you have a firm value proposition. Then you have the next stage, which is expand, where you have a value and now you want to prove it. You want to grow it systematically. And that's the growth stage. I call it product market growth, literally, and that can be Series A, Series B. You're past the stage of figuring out what the value proposition is. You're now growing it in a scalable, repeatable way. And needless to say, the last stage, I call it extract, where you are ready for IPO, you're ready for entering new markets, you're entering new segments, where you are not only just simply growing, you're actually capturing the value at scale. You are now the dominant player, or a significant player, if not the dominant player, etc. And I call it product market scale. Now here's the thing, right? What you're trying to do in these 3 stages is discover what your GTM is, alongside your value proposition. So it's a discovery process, the mindset is different, what you have to learn and do is different. Then, once you figure out what your GTM is, then you're growing it, repeating it, so that it becomes cost efficient. And finally, you are now building operations and processes and teams around various parts of sales, marketing, success. That's the scale part. Why is all this relevant? Because many of you who have physics or science background, these are phase shifts, PHASE, phase shifts. Right? So my metaphor is you go from gas to liquid to solid. It's all gas in the beginning. You're not sure whether it's all random, things are floating, you're not sure whether you can put something in it. At some point you say, it's flowing. I think we have some momentum. And that's your growth stage. Things are flowing, it's liquid still, you haven't really codified it, you're channeling the best thing literally. And then finally you have something solid. You're proven, bankers are coming to you, you're ready to go to IPO, all of that. That's my simple metaphor. Don't take it too seriously, but you get the gist. Okay, here are the 3 programs at a glance, and then I'm going to give you a little bit more detail on each of the programs. First program, surprising, these 3 programs are geared towards all 3 stages. The first one is for product market fit. If you are an early stage founder, not yet having achieved product market fit, then that's the program for it. It's a bootcamp for 8 weeks. What it is an online course once a week the founders can join. And I'll talk a little bit more about it. The next cohort starts on January 7th. We're already piloting it. In fact, 2 of the people who are in the first cohort are here. Thank you, Jeshri. Thank you, Revati. Thank you for coming. So they're already going through this, and they're getting the experience of it. We're trying to limit it to a handful of founders at a time so that we can have the high quality interaction that is required. The interesting thing is that it's a combination of self-guided videos as well as worksheets, as well as some live meetups at TiE office. The second program, which we have, which I have run before, but we are going to pilot now for TiE, is going to start in January 9th. It's called Mastering, it's on product market growth, Mastering GTM. That's for second stage of the companies. Those who are past the stage of validating value hypothesis, they are clear about how they have customers and repeatable product and revenue, they are looking to scale. That's the second cohort. We'll talk a little bit more about it. And the third one, for really, I would say, late stage or even generally very topic based, we are going to, once you start going beyond the growth stage, the challenges of every founder, every company becomes unique. The patterns are very, very specific. So rather than do a packaged program, what we're doing is a monthly series on, I call it GTM hard topics. Hard topics in the era of AI. Everybody's talking AI. AI is changing a lot of GTM, but we'll talk about that. So we'll do that. Let's go through the first program. First program, as I said, There are free assessment tools. Any of you interested in the first program, connect with me later. The best way to start is some free self-assessment tools. You can start taking them now. That will allow you to figure out whether you have the appetite for that kind of a program. Based upon those free tools, if you're interested, apply for the January start cohort, and we'll work with you to figure that out. So that's kind of the thing. And along the way, you will see some mini videos as well as the hybrid program for that. Second one is product market fit growth. This is for companies that are post product market fit. If you're not sure about it, take again a couple of free self-assessment tools to figure out how far you are in your growth journey and see whether you are ready for this program. If you are ready for this program, once again, consider talking to us and we'll work with you to figure out how to set you up for this. That's the second one. Third one is what I call GTM Talk Series, discussion series on hot topics in AI. What it is basically once a month, I'm going to be leading a conversation around a topic that is relevant for GTM, and particularly with the lens of AI. Why? Because GTM is changing in AI. Right? AI is changing all the industries, your product, your technologies, etc. Not surprisingly, it's also changing how you go to market and how you particularly create value propositions. If you're an existing company, a cloud-native company, or an AI-native company, you might start with AI already in your mind. But if you are a $10 million company or a $100 million company that's been around for 5 years more, chances are you're getting disrupted or you need to reconsider. So what are these topics? So let me just give you a quick flow. GTM strategy, everybody talks in big language around it. I'm going to summarize it in 7 bullets before we do the workshop. What is GTM strategy? It's a targeted, market-driven approach to identifying who your ideal key decision makers are in a relevant category that you choose to compete in the marketplace, so that you can align your product and your software offerings, whatever those are, and your solutions to their needs, and establish a clear value proposition for those customers in that market. Eventually, that loop allows you to create a successful customer acquisition, conversion, and growth funnel. So GTM comes from that and resulting in a profitable business model. So I've broken down in 7 steps what I think is a GTM strategy that if you are building a company at some point, definitely you will start thinking about it early when you are at product market fit stage. But once you achieve product market fit, you will start thinking about it exclusively as your engine for growth. Now here's the thing. Every one of this, what I'm showing you, is getting disrupted by AI. So whatever you think your AI and GTM was is going to get changed because AI is influencing every part of it. So what we're going to do is start having those conversations. And here are some of the sample topics. Sample topics are, okay, I have a company already, it's doing reasonably well, it's growing, but I know I need to reconsider my value proposition with AI. How do I position myself for AI-led growth? That's a hard topic. We'll explore that in a few minutes. Another one, some of these I've already written about or working through with many of the founders. Second is, how do I layer in AI into my current product? I already have current product, right? I know I need to be more competitive, so I need to now start layering AI into my current roadmap. How do I do that? Another example, how is AI value proposition different than SaaS? A lot of being written about it, right? I have a SaaS company, my pricing is unit-based, my seat-based. I think something's going to get disrupted by AI. How do I think about AI value propositions? Another one, AI pricing, AI bundling, everything is up for grabs. Significant changes are happening over there. And then finally, good old, I need to acquire customers, generate leads. There are so many companies that are coming out that are trying to help me do that through AI methodologies, sales and marketing channels. And then the mega shift that we see is that AI is converting service companies into software companies. These are, because AI allows you to productize what you're doing already. Sequoia wrote a very long article around it. There are several service companies that have been around for a long time who are productizing and bundling their products with AI capabilities and now becoming more and more like technology-enabled, higher margin companies, which is an interesting shift that's happening. So these are just sample questions over the next 3 to 6 months that we will be exploring as part of the hard topic monthly sessions. Those topics, welcome your feedback on topics that are relevant to you, on GTM and AI that are unique to your company that you want discussions around. These are not topics that have been solved. I don't have any unique viewpoint on this, although I'm working with many founders on what could be the ways to develop these. But the important point is that these are going to be hard and hot topics over the next 12 months. So it's interesting to be part of the community where we can explore these if they're relevant to your growth. Okay, enough of this. So here's what we're going to do today in the next 30 or 40 minutes. This is a free self-assessment tool to assess how well are you positioned for AI-led growth. This is for founders. You can be at any stage, but particularly if you are at a stage where you already have product, already have customers, and you think you are in competitive landscape with AI, how do you go about it? So this tool typically takes about, okay, so this tool you can take on your own. It's about an hour of content. Many of the founders do it on their own, which is fine. I also run this tool with GTM teams themselves, the founder, the head of sales, marketing. And that's about a 3-hour effort because you want your core, if you're slightly beyond early stage, you want your sales, marketing, product, and CEO to have a shared view of how your value proposition is going to be changed. So that's usually 2-3 hours of everybody coming together as a self-assessment. In this tool, I'm not going to tell you how to improve your position. That's a different exercise. This is to figure out where you are, what's your baseline, good, bad, ugly. Because without that, you don't even know where to start, right? So the intention of this is for you not to have solved this, but to have an appreciation for what it looks like, and we'll go through it. So what we're going to do, since we're not going to be able to have time to do all of it, I'm going to go through some sampling of it, and those of you who want to follow along with me, you don't need a worksheet. There's a worksheet here. You can start taking notes if you feel like it in writing. If you want to open your laptop, take personal notes. All of that is free. If you want to just simply listen and take mental notes as these questions pop to you, that's fine too, right? So the goal is to give you a taste of the workshop, since we don't have the format and time to go through all of it. Okay, so with that caveat, let's start with a few things that I began the workshop on. Is why reposition for AI? You don't have to. You're growing well, you have a SaaS company, your pricing works, everything's good, so why? And by the way, yes, there is a lot of hype, failure is high, so why do you want to be in a position for, or reposition for AI? Here is the central insight. AI is disruptive to all companies. Every company, just like cloud was 10 years ago, right? You couldn't say, I don't think this cloud thing is going to affect me. That was a wrong assumption. Eventually it affected everyone, right? So AI is going to disrupt every company. The point is, it is not going to be differentiated for most companies. What I mean by that is, if you think you're going to use AI as table stakes, then so is your competitor. If you think you're going to lower your sales cost because you are doing lead generation using AI, so is your competitor. If you're going to do HR interviews with AI, fantastic, so is your competitor. So AI being disruptive is table stakes for everyone, including your competitors. Or you could say, no, it's not enough. AI better be my winning hand. I want to win with AI, not simply defend myself and play the same game my competitors play. So that turns out to be a very important question for you, right? So how do you answer that? If you think, and again, there's no right and wrong here. This is, I'll talk about why you have to think about it that way. If AI is an efficiency driver for you, what that means is you want to innovate to lower cost, run pilots in sales, marketing, HR, all the support functions that you are already executing on, then you are following others, and there is nothing wrong with it. Just realize that's what's going on. You are, because everybody else is going to be doing the same thing. Everybody will use some efficiency tools around you. But here's the thing. if you want AI to be a winning hand for you in the marketplace, then you will have to do 3 assumptions. You will have to differentiate not just your sales and marketing and HR function. You will have to differentiate your core product and service with AI. Which means you will have to change and modify your core value proposition. Why change product if it's not going to change the value proposition? Third, which means you will have to change your core company story. That's it. So if you think AI is going to be a winning hand for you, then, and you need to start with core product and service that needs to be altered with AI, and your value proposition and your differentiation and your company story has to change because you're making those foundational changes, then you need to reposition. Okay, that's it. So you need to reposition your company. Now you could say, I understand that, that's not very hard. My team is already working on product. My customers are already piloting with me on some capabilities. So why do I need to reposition? Because I could always do it bottom up. My product team is building product. My service team is managing clients with AI, and I will get to changing my story over time. And we'll talk about that. So let's talk about what is positioning and why it matters. Positioning is a frame for your company strategy and story. What do you mean by frame? Okay, it's a combination of 3 things. You have a story, you have a value, you know how value is getting created. You have a story that combines 3 things: customer, product, and category. Customer, we'll talk more about. Product, we'll talk more about. Category is the market or the technology space you're competing in. The combination of these 3 things is your story that you're pitching, and that is your brand story. And I'm going to introduce a very simple framework that I deploy in the course, and I'll introduce it, called Story Map Framework. This is your way of taking your company strategy and translating it into a story and simplifying it. And the metaphor I use is that of a picture frame. It's literally a frame. What is a frame? Frame is you have identified a customer, and we'll talk more about it. Let's call it a hungry customer. A customer that already has a problem, hungry to solve a problem. That's the customer. That's your ideal customer profile. You believe you have a magical product. You have a product that is unique, different, capabilities, features. That's your magical product. You want the customer to view your magical product, right? And you want to make a promise. You say, okay, if you come to me, I will give you my magical product, and here's a promise. I call it name the promise. What is the promise you are naming for that product? You also want to claim that you're unique. It's not enough for you to say, come to me and here's my magical product and here is the promise of the product. The promise the product will do X, Y, Z for you. But you also say, this is my uniqueness. Here is why only I can do this for you. But then you have to frame it. You have to say, unlike competitor A, competitor B, your homegrown solution and the service partner you have, none of these people can do it. That framing is so critical because without the frame, your product alone, your story alone, your differentiation alone does not win. Because the world is only as good, the world is of trade-offs. The world only consists of trade-offs, and you need to set up a trade-off against which you need to be magical, and you are naming and claiming. You are framing, naming, and claiming. So you're framing a category, an environment, a context in which you are naming a promise and you're claiming uniqueness. In brief, that's your positioning. I'll give you examples which everybody can understand, and then we'll move into the questions. Smart watches. Everybody knows smart watches. Everybody has it, although I don't, for a variety of reasons. But let's say you position your smartwatch. You're a Fitbit Charge 5 user. The category is, you are selling that. Your category is health and wellness. Everybody wants to be healthier, so if you want health and wellness, that's the category. The promise is activity tracking, steps and heart and the calories and all that makes sense. So your claim is, your promise is you will do activity tracking as part of your health and wellness. And you will then have all sorts of claims about unique features. Well, I'll give you readiness scores, I'll give you files about your background, whatever your differentiation of the product is, the smartwatches is being framed that way. Now you have same category, virtually same product, but being positioned as no longer health and wellness. You are a super athlete, you are a performance enhancer. You won't be caught dead with just a superficial Fitbit. You want serious stuff when you go work out or climb mountains or go hiking. For that, you want a workout performance. The features have to be a lot more intense. They will show you VO2 max estimation, which I don't even know what it is. But you understand, if you are an athlete, it matters to you. And then same product, you just want to look good, fashion accessory, you have Apple Watch with luxurious design, Apple Hermes, designer face watches. So 90% of the capabilities of the 3 smartwatch categories are virtually the same, technically. But the way you frame the category, the way you frame the choices, the alternatives are completely different. That's all positioning is, right? So it can start with the product, all the way to the frame, it can start with the frame, work all the way back to the product. Why does it matter? So I'm going to now show you the whole framework, but we will not go through it. So the sophistication behind this is that you have to understand each of the frame elements in a lot more detail. It's not enough for you to say who my hungry customer is. You have to understand the elements like who your buyer is, user is, what's the burning problem. Each of these elements have to be understood. Similarly in the product, it's not enough to say I'll build a magical product. What's the canonical use case? What's the promise? What's the technical insight? How do you differentiate the offering? Similarly, it's not enough to say I'll frame it. Who is your alternative? What's your category? How are you changing the category? What's the criteria with which you're defining the category? And once you start talking about the promise, what's the future that you're promising with your product roadmap? What are the alternatives? So as you start blowing it up, it becomes very specific to your company, to your product, to your category. Okay, enough of the theory. Why it matters, let me just close out with that. You could do this all day, and most of the good founders already do it, intuitively good storytellers do it. The point is, it's a force multiplier. If you have a frame, then things like marketing messaging, sales pitch, product roadmap, customer value methodologies fall out of it. They frame it. You could do all of the other things individually, but it takes a lot more effort to work backwards. Now what happens is that you need to have this alignment problem. That's it. Right? You can do it top down, you can do it bottom up. And from my experience, the founders who are very clear about how they want to set the company story, they drive it top down. Right? It's not an organic process that bubbles up from 6 different departments. Right? Okay, now we're going to go into the tool and how we assess where you are today. Story. There's a worksheet which you can go down. So here's a method. I'll talk about the method of why the tool work, these tools, the way they're being constructed. All of them, whether these are PMF tools or this. The method, I call it power of sharp questions. We are dealing with complexity, and therefore no longer can there be a recipe book. I don't believe in recipe books, I don't believe in playbooks, because things are so complex that you cannot get by with recipe books in this area. So the way to approach it is you have a set of questions that founders and the GTM teams have to engage in and live with. Now, these are not random questions, because you can always ask ChatGPT. In the world of ChatGPT, where all answers are available to you, how do you improve your PMF and GTM if all answers are available to you? So the way to think about it is the power of LLMs or ChatGPT or AI today is in smart questions. Smart questions alone is also not enough, because prompt engineering can also be copied, etc. Smart questions guided with somebody that forces you, the thinker, to reassess your assumptions. That's it. Sounds easy. So let me tell you what sharp questions are according to my definition. Sharp questions are simple, not easy. Simple, not easy. Right? And why do they work? Because they cut open your underlying assumptions, hypotheses, vague premises, and at least then force you to test the hypothesis. Force you to say, I don't know that. Oh, I believe that, but now that I write it down, it doesn't make sense to me. Or I better go check that with 3 other customers or 2 other product team members, because that's what it is. All complex systems work with sharp questions, right? Not through recipes. Why do they work? There is a well-known psychological phenomena which is called illusion of explanatory depth. We all think we know more than we do. Right? That's why you ask somebody to explain to a 4th grader how something works, and after 2 or 3 sentences, we all start failing because we don't know as much as we thought. 2 or 3 sentences and we are done, right? And so that's really the reason why sharp questions work, because it forces you to explain what Feynman called in a simple technique, like write down and then see how good it is. Okay, so before I do that, just because we are in the mood here, I'll give you an example of a sharp question, which is very straightforward. And let's see. How do you explain the changing seasons to a 8-year-old? We are going through fall season. We all went to high school, studied physics, math, astronomy, right? So if you were explaining to an 8-year-old how do seasons change, why do seasons change, what would be the kind of simple explanation, or the best simple explanation you would give? Any like, people who are fearless today to take that on? Yes, perfect.
How do you clothe yourself during different seasons?
No. Explain why seasons change. Why season? What defines? Describe why seasons change to an 8-year-old.
Sure.
Yes.
So as an 8-year-old, you're probably seeing that the light falls on you and it feels warm.
Yeah.
So if more light falls on you, you're going to feel warmer.
Yeah.
So the earth is shaking and dancing just a little bit. So different times of the year, different amount of sunlight falls on it, so it gets heated or cooled more or less.
That's an explanation. As an example, right? Anyone else? Anyone can make it sharp. Sharp question, one answer. Can somebody make the answer even more sharp? Answer should be just as precise or clear. Try. Without taking too much time. The answer is, if you can't, people talk about revolution, sun, earth going around, and you know, it comes down to the axis of the earth is tilted. Everything could be the same. If the axis of the earth is not tilted, you have no seasons. Why is it important? Because it's not like it's magic. We all know it. It's just that we forget the core assumption behind the question. And we spend a lot of time not being able to get to the essence of it. That's the whole point and spirit of sharp questions. So when I say, who's your ideal customer who's going to be a champion for you after 1 year of working with your product, it's a sharp question. You have to know what it means to be a champion. You have to know what an ideal customer is. You have to know what it means to make them referenceable in 1 year. That's it. If you can't answer any of those sub-questions, it means you haven't thought about ideal customer, you haven't thought about referenceability, you haven't thought about converting them into a champion. So that's it. Okay, now that I've warmed you all up, and now we're going to go through some hard questions, sharp questions. Now, simple. Okay, so here I'm going to literally, those who are founders working on it, give you like maybe 2 minutes, because this is not. Ideally, you would take these questions, do them on your own, and reflect, and go for a walk, whatever, and come back with some answers. And over time, you will share those answers with your peers, with me, with others, and improve them, right? But for now, just put your first answers, because you have been living in this, down on paper and see. All of these, by the way, are available to you. So you can take pictures, but all of this is available to you. So here are the 6 questions I'm going to ask you. And what I want you to do is I'll give you 60 seconds to 2 minutes to write your own answers to this. Who's your ideal buyer champion? Ideal buyer champion. What's the burning business problem you solve for that buyer? What's the measurable impact of solving that burning problem? Who's your ideal user champion? If you are in B2B, chances are your buyer and user are not the same. So who's the user champion? What's the user pain you're relieving in the critical job that's going to be done? And what's the measurable progress or the gain when the user job is done? So, since we have a larger audience and we're not mixed audience, we will not give you the luxury of time to answer these questions. I'm giving this as an experience so that you can take this on later and bring your answers. Happy to discuss them. But here's the point which we started with. What's this got to do with AI? Here is why it's important. AI changes the relevance. Here are additional questions on top of the foundational questions that you need to answer that are relevant for your hungry customer, for AI. For example, how urgent is it for a buyer to adopt AI capabilities? Do you know that? In some verticals, in some use cases, the buyer might not be ready. You might be thinking AI is so hard, I need to go figure out X, Y, Z, and your buyer might be saying, we are not ready for AI for 12 months. Do you know that? Second, how willing is the buyer? Not just ready. How willing is the buyer to experiment? How open are they? How critical is it that your user of your product is able to and is open to learning AI personas, AI capabilities? Your user might say, I don't want AI in my inbox. I don't want AI bots in my Slack channel. It's too hard. So what I'm saying is the AI hype is so huge, so deafening, that do not drink the Kool-Aid. Do not say, everybody's saying AI, so I gotta go down my list and add AI agentic platform and AI bot, whatever hype you're listening to. You have to go through user, buyer, first principle, know who they are, and then layer on these questions. And if you don't know the answer to these questions, that's the point. Go figure it out. Because nobody in your market study or hype will tell you that these questions are what will drive your success in PMF or GTM. So, you can have, now what I will do is have you answer, let's say you have spent a lot of energy answering these questions. 20 minutes, 30 minutes on your own. I'll ask you to score this. Based upon nothing but your intuition as a founder and your confidence in your explanation. Just like I was asking you earlier. And you could say, my ability to target really a hungry customer today is 2 on 5. This is not SAP, it doesn't matter. This is just you getting a feel for, are you in the right place or do you have work to do? You might say, I have very high confidence. Or you could say, I have pretty high confidence except for question number 4 and 5, which I need to go follow up and ask. Whichever way, hopefully you have some intuition of where the work lies as a founder. And the work doesn't sit in the room, the answer doesn't sit with me, answer sits out in the world with your customers, right? So that's what you gotta go do. Okay, that's the methodology. So sharp questions will help you assess. Product questions. So this was a warm-up of customer question. Product questions. I'm going to ask the questions, then have you kind of, what's the most critical canonical use case of your product? Foundational use case. You might say, I'm building a platform, I have 75 use cases, nobody cares. Nobody buys platforms. I'm being rhetorical and pointed because you don't build platforms, you build solutions and use cases and you back into a platform 10 years later if you're lucky. $100 million or later. Okay, so then you have a bold promise. What's the bold promise? What's the phenomenon or a secret of your product? Why is it that your product does something that others don't? Then there is the whole idea of what's your whole product, WHOL, which is more than your code. It's like what integration, what delivery, what services, what deployment, right? What all is needed around your product for the product to unlock the value that you've been talking about. It's not just code, right? So what's that? Why is the whole package that you're offering better than the alternatives? And can you explain, again, sharp question, exactly how your product delivers value to the buyer and how does it deliver value to the user? Two different things. There are a lot of companies that have gone wrong who are fantastic at building user value, can't monetize it. I've personally known companies that have fantastic products, users love it, no way to monetize it, especially in the area of DevRel or developer tools, etc., and companies don't make it. Conversely, there are a lot of companies that are fantastic for buyers, but require significant pain and compliance or usage that the users have to be flogged into using it. Many of the bad SaaS products fit that bill. Or compliance products fit that bill. Like, nobody cares. You will force it compliance down the throat of the user. You will do the security audit. I don't care. But you get it, right? Once again, how relevant is AI to your product? Same set of questions. Is it more relevant for the buyer, so you need to show value? Is it more relevant for the users, so you have to show more efficiency of the productivity? I don't have time to go through all these questions, but I'm telling you the general assessment that is possible. Again, you assess your product. Score your category. This tends to be a little bit more complicated for most founders because fish swimming in water don't know they're in water. So very often founders come in, have an idea of a product, know a few customers, boom, get going, all good. Till they realize that the water they were swimming in is the wrong water. Like, they were in the wrong fishbowl. They were selling to startups and they can't really now sell to SMBs. They were selling to SMBs and now they can't go to, their ideal customer was not even an SMB, it was in a different segment or a different geography. So that's the category factor, market plus that. So here are the 5 or 6 questions that are really foundational questions on, are you segmenting the market? Do you know where you are playing and are you playing in the right place? Right? What is the category you compete in? That's very often people can answer that. What's your consensus viewpoint in the category? You're competing in a category. What's the generally held opinion about the problems in the problem space in your category? Do you have a contrarian point of view? Are you saying the same thing that your competitors are saying? If everybody is solving for efficiency, are you also solving for efficiency? If everybody is solving for productivity or some, what problem trade-offs are being made in your category? And do you have a contrarian point of view? As Peter Thiel says, you have to be contrarian. I say you have to be contrarian and right. Being contrarian and wrong gets you no benefit. So, but then how is the category segmented? Who are the top alternatives? And finally, which is really the heart of the question, is that it's not an academic exercise. If you have a point of view in the category, are you using that to change the buying criteria? Are you using that to change the user criteria? Good example, so that's not theoretical, is that when SaaS started and Salesforce came about, they had a contrarian point of view that you don't need to buy licenses, deploy it, your IT teams don't have to make sure that all the patches are up and running, so everything is in the cloud. That was the origin of SaaS as a service. All that is fine, but they had to convince the departments that you will evaluate us as without having to go through all the stack, all the features you had thought that you would evaluate Siebel or Oracle with. You will evaluate us with different criteria. We might not have as many features as Oracle does or Siebel does, but we are in the cloud, so our security criteria is different, our users criteria is different. So you are changing the criteria of purchase. Once again, AI is changing this. So if you're saying, I'm doing something magical in the category with my AI product, my point is, do you understand the category dynamics that your AI game is changing? How good at your category? So now that you have, so all I did was, I took the 3 factors, customer, product, category, and I decomposed them for you in your own head with hard questions, forcing you to rethink your assumptions behind it. Right? And as a baseline, I would say, okay, whatever your answers are, stitch them together into a story that you have today, good, bad, or ugly. This is a very simple template. There are many such templates. So you use this template to basically take your story and create a composed story. What this will tell you is how good is the story. The moment you finish writing it, you will start sensing that this doesn't look, this sounds or feels very repetitive or not any different from what my competitors are doing, what's missing. So all you have done in this exercise is you will then summarize your current frame, name, claim attributes, whatever those are. You will come up with your overall score. Now you have a starting point. I have not shown you how to do positioning. I have shown you just to take a temperature of your current positioning and have an appreciation of which are the components of it that are good, bad, or ugly. So that now you can say, okay, I need to work on my category. Or my question, my ideal user profile. Whatever those are. So what do you do with it? There's a framework. This is the actual full framework of 8 steps. It can take up to half a day to minimum 1 day to 3 days of taking the founder and the GTM team through a set of exercises that actually take them to a new positioning over the course of 1 to 3 days. At the end of it, you have a fresh positioning. What I showed you is simply the very first baseline 0 exercise before you even start down these 8 steps of 3-day commitment. Different companies, different stage, different size might have different need, whether they need the full 3 days or not. But if you are at growth stage or late stage company, chances are you have a lot more data and information of customer and product to bear with it, etc. So that's where I'll close. I'll just close out a bunch of workshops that I offer depending upon like 30-day, 60-day, 90-day programs. And the benefit of this is you start with a positioning that you and your GTM team has, and then you work your way through the details rather than the other way around. So these are all the assets and capabilities. I have a bunch of other materials online that will follow. I'll close out with this. I'm getting the timeout question.
Any questions on the floor?
Thank you. Thank you for your time.
We have a couple of minutes for any questions for Anurag. I'll ask, what is the cohort's length when you take these programs? For example, the PMF, go-to-market, and the repositioning?
Yeah, good question. So the PMF and go-to-market both are 8-week courses. The commitment for the founders is 1 hour of live online class. The cohort size is less than 10, so that you can interact and learn from each other. And besides 1 hour a week, there's about a 1 hour of prep work, think work. So it's not lecture style, it's only workshop style. So yes, it's like flipped classroom. You can talk to a couple of people who are going through it already, they'll give you a taste of it. So you go through workshops and videos on your own, and then come together with your fellow founders to partner with me, where we learn. And then I'm also doing office hours once a week in person. You can meet me at Palo Alto office to go deeper into some of your specific questions. Those are the programs for both GTM as well as PMF. What I walked you through is a positioning exercise. For that, we are doing workshops, because at that point we are not doing cohort, we are doing individual workshops for you and your company, depending upon what your size of the company is and how large your GTM team is. So you can come to me if you're interested in the positioning aspect of it, and we can figure out what kind of company-specific sessions, workshops, size makes sense. And then beyond that, just to close out, we are doing once a month hard topics. Just like I said, there might be other hard topics on pricing, value proposition, etc. Where we'll be exploring similar tools or at least discuss similar topics. Any other questions? Yes.
Thanks Anurag. This was great. Love the way you blended frameworks and reality. Couple of quick questions. Category, if there isn't one that you're a part of and sit maybe between two or a few.
Yeah.
And then second is, if you have multiple personas that are champions.
Fantastic question. Both of those, really. I'll take the second one first. It's not uncommon that you have not just a single persona, but particularly in B2B when you're doing complex sales, you can have everything from what I call a buying unit demand center, right? So you might have, there are at least 2 or 3 personas that are involved in a decision. It could be a technical persona, business persona. So we talk about that. So that becomes your minimum set of personas you have to go after. Minimally, you have always a buyer and a user. Sometimes you might have 2 or 3 personas of a buyer, and maybe 2 or 3 type of users, especially if you are a marketplace or two-sided then you might have multiple personas. So the short answer is you have to articulate all the critical. It's not 17, it's not 1, typically it's 2 to 4. And every persona you add adds a layer of complexity for your GTM. So you have to know that. That's the short answer. And part of the workshops is to have you define the minimum few that you need for your business and decompose them. Second question on category. It's a very complicated question. The short answer would be very often you have to identify what are the competitive alternatives that already exist. It's a very fashionable thing to say, especially that I'm creating my own category. You're not. 95% of the time you're not. So let me just tell you that. If you are, then the sign of that is that you have a technology that is so foundational that it can cut across so many different use cases. But my other test is whether you're creating a new category or not, is whether you're creating a new business model. But usually those two go hand in glove. If all you're doing is a new tech, that might be how significant. So that's short answer. And then if you think you are even in existing categories belonging in 2 or 3 different categories, then I think there's a work to be done for you to investigate how do you want to fight in category A or category B, and that's a longer conversation around your ability to win and take that category on. Hopefully that answers.
So I have a question now. So building a B2B network, you got the enterprise clients, you got the customers who are not or users not enterprise follower. Then you have regional consortiums who are giving the money. So let's say next 1 year, 2 years, my money is paid by a chamber or a consortium. But I got customers on the enterprise on this thing. So who's the real customer? One VC asked me, who's your customer? What should I answer?
So I think in situations where, in B2B particularly, most of my starting examples were straight up, but B2B can get very complicated, like B2B2C. In your case, you have two-sided marketplace plus the money being given by a third party. So I think the best answer would be that for you to draw out the money flow and say, unless it's bootstrapping, unless I'm getting money from consortium for first year, just bootstrap, but my long-term goal would be for market side A to B. Then you have to be clear about what you're building towards versus how you're funding to get to a mature place. So the short answer would be, if you're a two-sided marketplace or network, you will have people who are creating demand and somebody who's paying for it. And you have to kind of map that out as part of your PMF work and be very crystal clear about how the value proposition applies to both sides. So you're creating a two-sided value prop.
So the customers will be both sides, you think?
Yeah. So the word customer is used. You have a consumer and a supplier, or a buyer and a provider. So I think that's what you have to start decomposing. Rather than saying a customer, I think if you take away nothing else from today's few conversation, there is no such thing as a customer. I say that radically. In B2B, there is never a customer. Only in users, only in consumers, I'm a customer of Apple because I buy something directly. In most B2B, there is never a customer. There is a buyer, and a user, a supplier, and a provider. The more complicated your business model, the more it becomes hairy. So I would start with
one last question.
Yeah.
A lot of people kind of see this as a marketplace. In our mind, it's like a LinkedIn. Is there a difference between a network, business network, and a marketplace, or they're the same?
Happy to talk a lot more about it. There's significant differences in various kinds of marketplaces and networks, and we can talk about that. Thank you so much for your time.